Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Davey Deathray here, and I am back with another movie review. This time, to honor everyone's favorite Hallmark holiday, we'll be taking a look at My Bloody Valentine from 1981. The film was written by John Beard and directed by George Mahalka. It stars Paul Kellman, Laurie Hollier, and Neil Affleck. Real quick, before we get going with the review, please click the like button if you enjoy this kind of content. Hit subscribe if you'd like to see more, and drop on into the comments section below. Let me know what you think of the original My Bloody Valentine and what you want to see more of here on the channel. The story takes place in the very appropriately named Valentine Bluffs, a small Canadian mining town where a terrible tragedy took place on Valentine's Day 20 years before the film's events. You see, some of the miners got left down below so their supervisors could skip out early and head to the big ol' Valentine's Day celebration. And of course there's an accident in the mine, leaving just one survivor, Harry Warden. Now, he may have survived the 6 weeks it took for them to find him, but he did have to resort to cannibalism, so he's pretty much lost his mind. And on the following Valentine's Day, he gets his revenge by murdering both supervisors, cutting their hearts out, placing them in candy boxes, and leaving a note for the entire town warning them to never celebrate Valentine's Day again, which is actually pretty reasonable when you think about it. So fast forward to 1980 and the town has finally lifted its ban on Valentine's Day celebrations. It seems like everyone is involved with the big dance, including our group of 20-somethings, and boy are they a fun bunch. More on them later. Anywho, the killings start up again, and along with them come the torn out hearts, candy boxes, threatening notes, all that stuff. However, the sheriff and the mayor aren't quite sure if Harry has escaped the mental institution or if someone else has donned the gas mask and jumpsuit and is continuing the bloodbath themselves. Will our Canadian cut-ups become Valentine victims? Or will they find a way to survive the miners' mayhem? Just want to jump in and say there will be spoilers here, so if you haven't seen this movie, maybe go watch it on Pluto TV first and then come right back. Now, I put this one in the category of cult classic because I see a lot of love for this film, but it's one that isn't necessarily known by folks who aren't really into horror, and I see a lot of the elements in other films in the slasher subgenre. And of course, there are similarities with some of its contemporaries, like Prom Night from 1980, The Prowler, which came out in 81 as well, just a handful of months after My Bloody Valentine, and they're all part of that, whodunit revenge slasher subgenre, and they influenced some of the imitator low-budget slashers of the 80s, and then that moves into the 90s with movies like Scream and I Know What You Did Last Summer, and even as recent as Eli Roth's Thanksgiving, which reminded me a lot of this film. Now, this is only the second time I've watched the movie, and I gotta say, I think I've been selling it short by not working it into that rotation more often because I had a lot of fun with it, and I usually watch the movie once to just soak it all in, pay attention, and then I put it on, I grab some pictures that I can show you guys, so I sort of get to experience it again and kind of let it sit with me for a few days. And I've been thinking a lot about this one because there's nothing extravagant about it. It's kind of like a paint by numbers, very simple but very pure picture, and I really enjoy it. In particular, I really enjoy and believe that this group of characters have known each other for decades and that they grew up in this small town. They've just got this sense of camaraderie. They're really jokey with each other in quintessential 80s slasher nature. There's a lot of practical jokes being played. One character is kind of like the Ned from Friday the 13th that just can't stop being silly, and yeah, I just really catch that vibe. And then within that group, we also have a love triangle that kind of gives things another complex layer. So that's really interesting and adds to the overall story as well. And all the while they're planning the Valentine's Day dance and these killings start happening, the sheriff and the mayor are just kind of covering it up and trying to solve it themselves. So they cancel the dance and the kids don't understand why and decide they're gonna have a party anyways and go hang out at the mine in the amazing break room. This place is pretty awesome. It's got a pinball table, other tables, a full kitchen in the back. Pretty sweet spot for a party. And right before the party party kicks into gear, the sheriff gets one final warning. Another heart shows up in a candy box with a note telling him that there better not be a party, and he has this kind of comical moment where he just is shouting to the abyss, and he's like, "What party?" And the deputy comes out and sees everything, of course. And all of our main characters are hanging out, drinking beers. As always, it seems like they're drinking beer pretty much everywhere they go in this movie, except for work. But I guess the party takes place at the mine, so it is sort of at work. So our whole crew is at the mine, partying down in the break room, having a hell of a time. People start breaking off so they can get into some sexy activity, and lo and behold, the killings start happening again. The love triangle between TJ, Sarah, and Axel finally comes to a head. The guys exchange blows, and Axel goes outside to blow off some steam, get some fresh air, and maybe pass out from drinking too much damn beer. It's right about this time when a couple of our jokesters get the ultra bright idea of taking a couple of their friends on a tour in the mine. Now, keep in mind that they don't know there's a killer on the loose because the sheriff and mayor have covered the whole thing up, so they have no reason to think that anything's wrong. Yet. Mayhem ensues as some bodies are found, and Axel instructs everyone to go home, get away from the mine. He and TJ will go look for the people down in the mine, and it seems a little suspicious, Axel. Are you up to something? Of course, one of the couples in the mine break off from the group so they can get into some funny business, and we won't see them again until they're totally screwed. By this time, everyone in the mine is feeling pretty antsy, and TJ and Axel have gone down to rescue them, but the killer is on the loose. He's marching around, smashing light bulbs, chasing everybody, knocking people off one by one, until we finally get the reveal that it's been Axel the entire time. You see, Axel's father was one of the supervisors from the mine that was murdered all those years ago by Harry Warden, and it's just weighed on him psychologically. I guess he wasn't ready for Valentine's Day to come back, and did a perfect job of imitating Harry's MO. Sarah and TJ managed to prevail in the final battle against Axel by bringing down the walls of the mine and burying him in rock. The emergency services have finally made their way there. They're going through the rubble trying to find Axel's body, but he's still alive and he's making his way down the tunnel in the opposite direction. Looks like he's missing half of his arm and he's saying some really creepy shit. It's just such a shame we never got a sequel to this film. TJ and Sarah are safe, of course, but once again, tragedy has struck Valentine Bluffs, and the town will never be the same. So yeah, guys, like I said before, I think I've kind of been sleeping on this movie. It is so much better than I remember it from the very first time I watched it, which was probably 10 or 15 years ago, and I think it stands right with the other classics of the early 80s. There's some slow moments, but you know, Halloween 78, if I had never seen it or only seen it a couple times, I'd probably say that there are slow moments there too, because there are. I just happen to love that movie and I've been watching it my whole life. Here in My Bloody Valentine, though, we don't have that benefit of a franchise on the back of this awesome, iconic killer. And it's not like slasher movies can't be one and done, or that every single one needs to turn into a franchise, but there's something about the slasher subgenre that I think lends itself to that. It's almost like it's okay if it sort of gets schlocky after 4 or 5 movies. You can always bring it back, you can always reboot it, or like we've seen with Halloween, you can sort of pick and choose your timeline. So it is too bad that we didn't get to see more My Bloody Valentine. I mean, we have the remake from '09, which is plenty of fun, but it's just a remake, not a sequel, and that movie didn't even spawn any sequels, so I feel like there's some really big untapped potential here. The effects are really good. Now, they're not as creative or as impressive as the Tom Savini effects, but really he was the only one kind of hitting that mark at that time. There's some really good lighting, especially in the third act when they're in the mine, and some really awesome camera movement and editing for the action scenes in that part of the film. I'd say one negative here is you can kind of tell it's a low-budget movie, but that's not really a surprise when it comes to slashers in the early 80s. It just seems like there are not many extras in the town. Really, it says there's 3,000 people, but it looks more like 50. Seems like only 20 guys work at the mine, and that's pretty much it other than the bar they've got. But really, I can't take any points away for that because that's all part and parcel for the subgenre. To wrap things up, guys, I can't recommend My Bloody Valentine enough. This is a classic 80s slasher. We still see remnants of it in the slashers that come out today, so it's definitely left its mark. And I really want to see this come back and actually turn into a legit franchise. I think the Harry Warden character's got a really cool look. I think the premise of taking place in a small mining town is awesome, and whodunit revenge slashers are coming back. If this property were in the right hands and they mapped out a couple sequels, I think it could be a blast, and people would really love seeing this come back. It is a cult classic, and like I said before, untapped potential. That is gonna do it for my review of My Bloody Valentine 1981. Please like the video if you enjoy this kind of content, click the subscribe button if you want to see more, and jump on into the comments section below. Let me know why I'm right, why I'm wrong, what you want to see me watch next. Tell me if you like the remake even more than you like this one. I could also review that on the channel. I haven't seen it since the theater in 3D, so maybe it's a good time to give that one another shot. Thank you guys so much for coming by. Until next time, I've been and will continue to be Davey Deathray. Take care.